I think we have a great opportunity today to show you how to have a tough conversation with friends, where you deeply disagree on something, but you know that their intent is good. They know my intent is good, or our intent is good, and we actually have the same end goal, but we disagree on the path, and we're going to walk away friends. Chip Roy is joining us today, and Chip, I love you, and I always will, and I agree with your. We've got to cut spending. We have to, but Liz Wheeler is with me, and we've been talking about it all morning. It's the system of DOGE and Trump. The call out to the world and saying you got to surround the Capitol. You know the bad guys are in and about to take all the money. Surround and tell them, come out with your hands up. And that happened, and we scored a massive win in an entirely new way. And then you stood on principle, one we both agree with, and it failed. And so here's what Liz and I were talking about it. Here's what we want to say to you, and then get your response.
Hi, Congressman Roy. This is the way that I see it, and I want your take on this. I love you. I think you're one of the best members of Congress. I disagree with you on the process of what's happening. And I think that is the difference, the process. We elected Donald Trump to be a disruptor because Republican members of Congress for decades have been telling us they're fiscal conservatives. They want to decrease the debt ceiling. It hasn't happened. It hasn't been done. And so Donald Trump comes in with Elon Musk and uses this DOGE process to first identify these pieces of garbage in the first 1,500-page bill and take those things to the people. We took them to members of Congress. Congress said, okay, we'll listen to you. So that new process was very effective. And my question to you is, once that process was proved to be effective, which I think is exciting and wonderful, how do we bridge this divide with you to say, okay, let's put some faith in this new process and trust Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the DOGE process to eventually address the debt ceiling, but get this done right now?
And not blind trust. Chip.
So appreciate you guys. Appreciate being on the show. Number one, in no particular order, I'm going to go through a couple of things. Number one, it is important to remember that my job and my duty is to the Constitution, to God, and to the people I represent. Yes. I told them when I came to Washington, I would not lift the credit card and the debt ceiling and the borrowing of the United States without the spending restraint necessary to offset it. Okay. Right now, all we have are promises and ideas and notions. What I know that neither of you respectfully know, and that none of your listeners respectfully know, are the people in the room that I was in with yesterday and the day before who are recalcitrant and do not want to do the spending cuts that we seek to do, that I believe the president and the DOGE guys and Russ Vogt and everybody want to do. My job is to force that through the meat grinder to demand that we do our damn job. Okay, that's number two. Number three. Wait. Hold on, Glenn. Hold on. Number three. You're right. Go ahead. Number three. When we were going through the bill, I'm glad the bill dropped from 1,550 pages to 116 pages. 3/4 of Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it have been out there basically spreading false facts that we supported bad bill and didn't like the better bill. That's not true. But let's be clear, the 1,400 pages that were cut out, it's not a panacea. There was some good stuff in there. There was some bad stuff in there. There's a lot of misinformation. There wasn't a $70,000 pay raise. There was a $3,000 pay raise. I didn't support any pay raise. I didn't support a lot of the stuff in there. But there's a lot of misinformation. And here's the thing. The 116 pages that were left, and I opposed violently the first bill. I was leading the charge on fighting and killing the first bill.
And
the second bill for 116 pages turned off the pay-go requirements that we slash 1.7 trillion automatically and added a $5 trillion debt ceiling increase. My view was I could not support that without a clear understanding of what cuts we will get in mandatory spending next year and undoing of the Inflation Reduction Act, the undoing of the student loans, the undoing of the thrifty crap with the food stamps, and everything else. I yield back.
Okay, I yield back. Chip, you're not in a hostile room. We love you, and we agree with your end goals. It's our end goal, too. We didn't make that promise that you made to the people that voted for you. So we have more wiggle room here. But you say, I think our big difference is you say, I know the guys in the room. You're right. You do. And we seeded that earlier today on the show. You are, one of us is wrong on trust. I don't trust any of the weasels in Washington, but I think Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have earned enough trust to get a grace period here for maybe the first year, or at least 6 months, to turn the economy around and also reduce the size of the government and totally flip this thing. And I know, as somebody who has, run a company, mainly into the ground, but run a company and have to switch it in the middle and totally reshuffle that actually costs money while you're doing it to bridge the gap, because you got to fill up holes while you're filling the gap. You don't trust the people in the room, neither do we. But we do trust the system that worked on Wednesday with DOGE and Donald Trump. Where do we disagree? Where can you give them?
We don't disagree. And yesterday morning, I was making that precise argument in a room full of conservatives, and then a follow-up room with people who are, we'll call it, less conservative, more more
Republican. Yes.
And so we were making this argument. And then, somewhat infamously, something leaked out of the room somewhere down to Mar-a-Lago that somehow I was being resistant, because I was negotiating to try to get agreement to achieve the objective you just said. I was working to try to get, in fact, yesterday morning, I made the argument to a group of conservatives. We need to give the president runway. We need to give him his first 100 days. We need to appreciate and respect JD and Vivek and Elon and all the people, and Russ Vogt and everybody involved for the president to achieve the objective. But to get there, we have to make sure that the guys in the room that are an obstacle to that don't have the ability to block it, because information flow matters. And when those guys tell the president they can't achieve X, then the president and his team may not achieve X. Our job was to force and demand, guys, we need actual understanding of what the cuts will be. And because otherwise you're asking us to accept a $5 trillion limit in our credit card increase in exchange for nothing, literally in exchange for nothing but hope. So our job was to force that change. Unfortunately, while I was trying to make the argument that we needed something in order to get the votes, someone leaked that down to Mar-a-Lago, and the president reacted. So now I have to now manage that. So there's the issue in trying to force change in town.
Okay, so hang on. We gotta leave this behind, because I'm going to run up against the clock. I could talk to you all day about this. You were in a meeting this morning with J.D. Vance. Can you tell us anything about that meeting?
That meeting happened because despite what happened yesterday, I'm trying to get this done. Last night, talking to JD, we worked to get this meeting done. We had some good progress this morning, but there still remain people concerned about spending that we're trying to work out what agreement we can reach on what spending cuts we will actually get next year in exchange for giving the vote on a debt ceiling increase. So it remains fluid. Progress was made, but we've got to keep working on it, and I left that meeting to come talk to you, so I'll get an update in a minute.
Okay. Thank you for that, by the way. I hear there is a new bill that may be coming today. Is that the one you're talking about, or is this another bill that could be another nightmare?
Despite other people leaking crap, I refuse, so I can't say, because it's not been decided by the speaker, and it's just not right to talk about things we're talking about in private meetings, despite the fact people do it to me all the time.
It's this speaker. I mean, is he really the speaker anymore, Chip, really?
We need to figure out what bill we're going to get forward, and I can't talk about the private meetings. But look, guys, I'm going to keep fighting for what I promised the people that I represent. I'm going to fight to cut spending. I'm going to represent Article 1. I'm going to support the president's agenda, but we've got to do that together.
Okay, Chip, thank you. I think we can I think we agree, but I wait to see what that means to you, because we may just have to agree to disagree on this. But I love you, and I still want you to replace Cornyn.
The short version is, for inflation's sake, we cannot increase the debt ceiling $5 trillion without knowing what we're getting for it. And I don't think anybody should disagree with that.
But you don't disagree that Elon Musk and Vivek and Trump are serious about gutting this system.
I believe that is their objective. I believe there are obstacles to that objective, and I need to know the sincerity of how we deal with those obstacles, both structural in the government and human. And we've got to figure that out, and that's my job.